This episode was co-produced with Energy Startup Day, an event which connects startups from the areas of clean tech, energy, mobility and smart buildings with incumbent companies and public institutions.
All this preparation work, I would say, that we've done for 21 from a market perspective, and really have a market-back approach in the kind of solutions that we want to use, a kind of technology, that converted into a very quick pre-seed roundtable.
Welcome to the Swisspreneur Show, a podcast about startup stories and learnings from experienced entrepreneurs. Here's your host, Sylvan.
Alex, a warm welcome to the Swisspreneur Show. It's a pleasure to have you here today.
Thank you. It's great to be with you, and thanks a lot for inviting me.
You're the co-founder and CEO at WattAnyWhere, a company that is transforming how high-power electricity demand is actually delivered to anyone, anywhere. Before we talk about what your company does, I actually want to know what motivated you to start WattAnyWhere.
So, in my view, the motivation comes actually from three aspects. The number one would be your own state of mind, your willingness to act on an idea, bring it to people, and also having experienced that the corporate world wouldn't be adapted to a very fast pace of progress for your idea. So that's really the number one, and having this both experience of the large corporations, international corporations, and the startup really stands out for what is it that you want to promote, you want to defend, what is it that makes your idea much stronger. The second aspect would be the external factors that you're personally sensitive to. And on my side, I've had a first experience of a startup back before the internet bubble, where this revolution was huge in the US and still very native in Europe. So I was very sensitive to that. And back then I had created my first little company, SARL, and developing websites and developing the first one of the first portals to real estate, performing transaction on the net. Very exciting times. And maybe what the little plus that had me also dive into WattAnyWhere back in 2020 has been visibility on the successful startups around me from close friends that have been very successful in defining the right idea that they wanted to bring to market and executing this idea to the best extent. And so it's with one of them, Didier Roux, that we've co-founded WattAnyWhere.
Fantastic. Yeah, three very strong motivators to actually start WattAnyWhere. Amazing. And can you also talk a bit more about what problem that you actually solve and who your clients are?
So we've been looking closely at a problem that is rising today that's called range anxiety. And you may have experienced that issue if you drive an electric vehicle. You go for a holiday and you start seeing at some point your gauge going down quite rapidly, but having difficulties to find the charging point. And the reason for that is that for the operators of charging points, it's getting more and more difficult to follow the pace of the development of the electric car and have installation of charging points at the same speed as EV sales is going. And one of the key reasons for that, not going fast enough, is the difficulty to access the grid, so the electrical grid that provides you with the necessary power to provide for the charging point to the electric vehicle drivers. And this is summarized in two key figures. When you look at the way the grid expanded over the years, historically, it's been an expansion of about 4-5% year-over-year growth. And that involves, from those centralized plants to distribution and transport and then to have all the economy around connecting each individuals or companies. At the same time, you have a surge of the demand. Everything is being electrified, and this surge makes a demand that is at least 30% year over year. So you see that gap that is forming, and that gap translates in, for the end user, translates in this range anxiety that I've mentioned.
And in that regard, I mean, the energy transition is also happening right now. We're basically in the middle of it. How do you, with your company, also contribute to that? I think you're also an important puzzle piece when it comes to that part.
At least we want to be part of that piece, and hopefully we'll be successful in that. Effectively, there is a need for a mix, an energy mix. There is no single solution to the electrification of all our equipment and industries, and as well developing the independence versus sourcing fossil fuel. And so, yeah, we want to be part of that. It's been one of the initial drivers with my business associate as we were nurturing the main ideas. So we want to be part of that energy transition. It's key for the world. It's going to be having a global impact on how we use and produce energy. And so when we look at the objectives of the European Commission through the various deals, the Green Deal, and the objectives set for energy emission, developing renewables is really important. So from day one, we've been looking at what would be a great solution to be part of that mix and be part of the development of renewable. And we've picked bioenergy, so that is electricity out of the biomass and specifically out of the residue and waste of the biomass. Mm-hmm. It's a model that has been exploited today in a way where you have large centralized production centers called CHPs, for instance, and those sites have a certain efficiency that will need to be improved to meet the targets of the European Commission, and also depend on the grid and the difficulties that I've mentioned earlier, where the grid would also need to develop fast enough. So we come with a way to produce bioenergy that is different, that is by having a decentralized production, having the production of electricity as close as possible to the consumer. And that's possible with the generator that we're designing and manufacturing for our customers.
Yeah, that is certainly a new approach. Fantastic innovation. Now, you also briefly mentioned your co-founder, Didier. Can you also share a bit more about what experience your team brings to the table?
With Didier, we've known each other for a number of years. We've been part of this. We've been co-graduates, so it's been a while that we know each other, and we worked in the industrial context, in the automotive industry for Didier. I was in the transport and then in aerospace industries. So with the first point that we have in common is this ability to work in this context of industrialized products that needs to be delivered in this way. Didier also has run a startup for the past 10 years very successfully in the world of embedded software, timely critical software that is now flies on fighter jets. So very, very exciting technology. Wow. And so as he's been through a successful exit with large corporations investing into the startup, he decided to was motivated per the start of our discussion to run another such enterprise. And also what we've looked at is very quickly built an extended team. We're now 5 people in the team from companies like Honeywell. 3 of us were part of these corporations, but also Accenture for our CFO. So quite an experienced team that has experience in launching a product, in bringing it to market, and an experience on the production as well. Olivier, for instance, was the director of quality for Honeywell plants across Europe. So really unique and extensive experience relative to this kind of setup.
And I'm sure that you also have plenty of stories or achievements to share when we talk about the current milestones, the last milestones that you've achieved with your company. What comes to mind?
We're very proud of the way we got started. Through 2021, we've been selected by incubators, and so that also is part of our differentiation as a startup. We are both Swiss and French, so we enjoy being incubated at CIMARC in Sion of the Arc Foundation in Valais, and also in Paris by Incubating. And that's been really key through 2021 to receiving the right coaching and the right support in order to set our objectives. So again, building that generator for electricity out of the biomass, and also key to select the best way to bring that energy to our generator, that is selecting ethanol. I think I didn't mention it enough, that this is a fantastic way to bring the energy to our generators, as ethanol is very easy to transport, very easy to store. It's a commodity today, so you can buy it on the market at a very, very affordable price. So lots and lots of qualities in using that renewable ethanol that we convert into hydrogen in our system, in our fuel system, and having the fuel cell to produce the electricity out of that hydrogen. So the reason I mentioned that also was part in 2021 of our technical strategies as well. I mentioned the incubation. We have a technical strategy and a market strategy, which we can address. And being very confident with that, we've created the company in October last year, and immediately started with a pre-seed roundtable with friends and families, and also applying to grants, and also have been very, very happy to see that all this preparation work, I would say, that we've done for 21 from a market perspective, and really have a market back approach in the kind of solutions that we want to use, the kind of technology, that converted into a very quick and very quick pre-seed roundtable. Lots of enthusiasm from brands that had invested into startups in the past, and also we're very happy to win an InnoSwiss program right from the first application, where at CIMARC we were being told that we might have to resubmit a couple of times before we get successful. So that has been closing the first roundtable by March. Now working on the second one. The other things we're very proud of is really the market traction that we get from actors that are completely immersed with the issues that we've mentioned. A utility company in Valais that is trusting us, investing in the company, but also charge point operators such as the Vinci Group in France that operate the highways and the charging points. And so we enjoy having a very, very open and nice collaborative discussions in order to make sure that we have the right specification for our product, and that we really hit their needs as fast as possible.
And you've also been awarded at the Energy Startup Days as a winner. Do you think that these awards are helpful for you as a startup company?
Well, these awards are key. It's not only for I would say being exposed, and some of these awards actually come with some financing and we have another one that will be released on Thursday. I'm looking at the dates here, so being very excited also about having this series of awards. And there is financing that comes with it. It's important. I would say every penny is very important for during that startup phase. And also it brings an essential thing, that is the exposure to the larger community, to investors in particular, and make sure that they really understand what are our differentiators, what is the value proposition that we have for our customers. And this requires really saying what we're doing, is presenting it numerous times in order to understand. We really have very strong innovation from a supply chain perspective, from the way we do business in acquiring electricity at a local way. And this innovation comes from this choice of ethanol. And this is not immediate to understand, because there is so much discussion about potentially other vectors using hydrogen or using some ammoniac and other ones. And but as soon as we talk about this idea, well, we get all the positive feedback. We also get questions, and we get, I would say, better and better for each of these opportunities of exchanging and presenting our ideas.
You know, your approach seems to be very unique and innovative at the same time. If you look at the competitive landscape, do you even have something as a competitor, or anyone that you consider to be a competitor, or at least a replacement of your offering?
It's it's a good point, because we have a unique approach in using an energy vector that comes from the biomass, and that allows to have a true renewable solution, and also a CO2 neutral solution, which is very important today to meet the objective that are set to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. And so if we look at, for our customers, the number one alternative would be to use the local utility company. But when we talk about the energy required for recharging cars, we talk about quite a lot of energy, in two aspects. Number one, the kind of the pipe, so that is measured in kilowatt. So what the quantity of electricity that can be brought to your site. And the other aspect is the amount of energy, how much can be stored at your site, so that you're not constantly refilling your solution. And on both accounts, we are very well positioned with a 300 kilowatt system that can address fast charging with multiple charging points, charging several cars at the same time. And from an energy storage perspective, the ethanol brings us a huge amount of energy immediately available. Just to give an element of comparison, with one typical truck that delivers ethanol today of 30 cubic meters, we can recharge about 3,000 cars. So when we look at, back to your questions on alternatives today would be the electricity company, but with the issues with the grid, that translates into a waiting time to get your power of 2 to 3 years. There's so many people that want to connect to the grid, either to provide energy or to get energy, that basically you have to be in line and to get the connection. So that's for one alternatives. Other alternatives include battery system, but here this is an aspect of energy density that makes our solution very, very different. I mentioned about the quantity of ethanol that can be used to recharge 3,000 cars. If you take battery systems, the same amount of energy, the quantity of energy in kilowatt hours, is about 10 times less with the current technology. And then there is solutions based on sourcing hydrogen, and makes the generator maybe a little bit more compact, but however depends on the creation of the complete supply chain that can bring the hydrogen to your site. And that's where we innovate with the use of ethanol, that is with the use of an existing supply chain that today delivers ethanol pretty much everywhere, either for consumption as alcohol, right, in your drink, or to mix it with gasoline and use in thermal engines, which is all very robust and solid supply chain today.
Fantastic. And, you've been on the market and in the entrepreneurial journey for quite some time now. I wonder if you had to pick just one challenge, what was the toughest challenge that you had to overcome so far?
So we've had a variety of challenges as a startup, but in fact, so one of them has been the identification of the right actors, the right launch customers that we want to work with. We, even if we have 5 people and we're very lucky to be 5 in the team of experienced people, you really need to narrow down your objectives very clearly and not disseminating various solutions, stay focused. So that's an execution challenge. We constantly asked, could you please provide a solution for the maritime also market, because there's new regulation that ships should stop their heavy fuel engines when they are in the port in Europe. So they have to connect to electricity. And by the way, at the port, we don't have the power available. So we're constantly pulled into so many directions because we indeed have so many potential applications with our solution at various sites. So we need to stay focused. We need to stick to our choice to first look at customers as being the charge point operators for electric cars, because that's a big enough challenge already to solve for us. And it's also a market that is booming. So it's very nice for a startup to anchor to such a dynamic market. The other aspect in Switzerland would be the diversity of actors, in particular in terms of utility companies. However, this is also probably what made our relationship with Eucken in Valais firm up so fast, because being local, they really understand the issues of the local communes that they solve, and they could very quickly justify to their management that our solution would help them a lot in coping with some of these issues using the grid. One of them being an extension project can take really massive amount of time to be put in operation, not talking about the capex also that is involved.
Right. Now, of course, you're also curious to hear about the future. So what are your plans for the future? What can we expect from your company over the next 12 months?
I mentioned about our success very recently in the pre-seed funding. So our next step is to look at first a demonstration that we call it our demo day, that is on the 14th of September, where we want to make sure that we bring visibility on our very first prototype that we develop as part of this InnoSwiss project, along with the EPFL and HESSO. And so the whole team will be very proud of demonstrating how we can convert ethanol into electricity with the highest level of efficiency that can be set for this kind of system today. And also have the ecosystem that we've created really discuss all together. So we have launch customers coming, big industrial companies coming to that event. That is essential, as we've already started our roadshow in order to seek for funding from investors. So here we talk now about the seed funding of about 6 million francs that will allow to perform the initial development of our prototype and deliver it to Eucken in 2023. It will be, this is a really important event for us because this first demonstration on site at a parking lot will be a world first, basically, in the sense that for the first time, an electric car will be recharged with a system that uses ethanol as an energy vector that itself comes from the residue and waste of the biomass. So we expect a lot of attention. And again, as we discussed, attention and visibility is key for a startup.
Certainly a very exciting time ahead of you. Alex, to wrap up today's conversation, we also have some rapid fire questions prepared for you. So basically, I give you different options to choose from or a simple question, and you have to answer in one sentence. Are you ready?
I'll try.
What was your summer job as a teenager?
As a teenager, I had a couple, but really the most challenging one has been to spend 2 months at the supermarket. Wake up at 5 a.m, and obviously, as being the teenager, I was involved into the wine area, which is the heaviest, and so I could suffer. I could suffer from going for this job back then.
What are you most proud of in your life?
Probably the fact of having been involved into what I call also intrapreneurship. So both looking at entrepreneurship in the way we can see it for startups, but also inside large corporations and being involved into special projects such as the launch of a specific business with strategic partners and the awards that came with it within the company.
The next one, I'm going to slightly adapt that for you. Sion or Morges?
So, Sion or Morges, it's a difficult choice because both benefit from an extraordinary environment. And so if I may, can I say both?
You can, yeah, of course. Then the next one. Now, let's see what you say here. Apple or Google?
So, being an engineer and an electrical engineer and working in, I've been a little bit of a geek as a kid. And perhaps it's the circumstances, but at the age of 13, I had to build my own Apple II computer. My parents either didn't want to or couldn't afford to buy the end product, so I had to build it myself. And so my story with Apple started there. So I tend to stick to Apple.
Great one. And the last one, lake or mountains?
So that's a Morges or Sion question.
Sort of, exactly. So just, phrased in a different way.
So the lake for kite surfing and starting lessons in foil, which is really tricky, so very interesting. And the lake offers that possibility for water sports. And I'm a fan also obviously of skiing and snowboarding. So sorry, that's both as well.
Again, yeah, fair point. I mean, it's basically the same question as before, just phrased differently. So it's fair to say both again. Alex, thank you so much for joining us today. All the best and lots of success with your company for the future. And I'm sure that we're going to hear much more about your startup.
Thank you. And stay tuned to WattAnyWhere LinkedIn page, where you can read and hear of all the news of our startup. And thank you very much again for inviting me. It's been a pleasure.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, you can support us by rating our show on Apple Podcasts. This way, we can reach an ever-growing number of aspiring entrepreneurs.